I have to pee. Give me a quick second.
Oh, no worries. I need to do this one here. Doing something right. Success. Do 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 do. Identified. Oh, chat client is testing, 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 test. But noticed it wasn't on AGR. Cool, awesome. Yeah, unfortunately, just to let the audience know, Tom is unfortunately unable to host today's show. So it will be Scott and I, and it will be an awesome show because it is Scott and I. Actually sounds like a documentary. Oh wait, that's Roger and me. Same concept, different name. Well, actually no, that's my name. Where did my cursor go? Where did my cursor go? Greeting. Oh. Keep hearing Allison Sheridan on there. Uh-oh. All right, let me see. Let me stop this. Right. Do you hear me talking? Do you hear me talking? Do you hear me talking? And the audio. There is some audio. There is some audio. Oh, perfect.
Oh my gosh. My wife put a piece of furniture in the way of this room that I didn't have the light on and it hit my knee.
Oh, that's the worst.
Wish she would have warned me. Woo. Woke me up though.
All right. I'm going to start recording our audio. You're good with just recording the audio from the show.
Yeah.
Cool. No, I'm going to just start recording our pre-show audio for the Treasure chest.
This cough's been killing me. Hopefully it won't be too bad.
Do you have a cold or is it allergy?
I think it's just I don't know. I'd had one day about a week and a half ago where I felt kind of crappy and then everything went away. And then the next day I just started getting this weird persistent cough and it's been there since. And I don't feel bad in any other way. Just it's mostly at night, but just this little weird thing in the back of my throat. Oh, that's going to be a bruise.
So quick wrap here. So at the top, the red part under your name, you can just read those. And I can throw in my 2 cents worth, but nothing too much.
Okay.
And then we'll go straight to the top stories, and then we'll jaw about Facebook ends its effort to personalize trending topics. And that's kind of the big piece of the puzzle is curation, because curation's always kind of had a very hit and miss approach, whether it's music, video. I mean, YouTube does it, and sometimes it gets it right. Sometimes it doesn't. Pandora.
Yeah, that's the kicker. I think there's some examples where we really like it and others where we don't need to have it forced on us. I wrote a lot of that down, so hopefully I think we can build a good comment out of that.
Cool. I'm just aiming to, I got hard out at 2:15, but it should be a good show. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
So,
Full agreement.
Do you have any questions, Mr. Gunnair wearing host? Aren't those the Gunner glasses? Gunner?
Oh yeah. Well, they're knockoffs, but they do the same thing for about 1/10 of the price.
That's good. I can't wear them because I got glasses.
Yeah, I used to not be able to for that same reason until my surgeries, and then.
Oh, that's right. You got LASIK, or?
Well, no, I had cataract surgeries for some weird genetic early cataract thing. If this is the 1800s, I'd be a blind guy on a porch somewhere.
That's like even in the 80s, I would be Mr. Magoo. It would be horrible.
Yeah, it'd be really bad. But because of those, when you get that surgery, I still have to wear glasses for distance. But he said, all right, now the change here is that you can, when we do the surgeries, you can lock it in where you want your normal vision to be because it's monofocal. And I said, oh, all right, well, I'd like it right like computer range. He said, okay, no problem. So that's what they did. The only problem is I had to do one eye at a time over about a year's period. So for like a year, one eye was totally different than the other eye. And then the next year, that eye had to catch up. And it was crazy. 2013, 2014, weird years for me.
I just want bionic eyes. People are coming with prosthetic limbs. I want a bionic eye.
I'm all up in that.
So if you want, let's see if these share screen works before I do anything else. And then, where is it? Here it is. Is this it?
Trap open. Maybe shut something down.
Is there a way to just... Oh, because I'm talking, that's what it sees. Whatever, that's life.
Yeah. I'm good on this end.
All right, so you can start whenever you're comfortable with going.
Okay. Audio started recording.
Yeah, and then just remember to hit record.
Yep. Okay. I think we're ready to go. And we're all streaming. Everything's good, right?
Yes.
Oh, how much do I want to? I mean, I want to mention why Tom's not here, obviously. Do I want to get any more detail than that?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of left it out. I would just say, like, for personal reasons. I mean, I'm not sure how. I actually didn't ask him how far to go into it.
I'll make it vague. I'll say he had some important stuff to take care of and ask that we sit in for him today, and then he can fill in tomorrow.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
And then we'll just probably aim to keep this around 30, 35 minutes.
Yeah. I will try not to make it long. Okay, here we go then. Let's start it. It all starts right now. The Daily Tech Show. Sorry, let me go back. The Daily Tech News Show is powered by its audience. To find out more, head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. This is the Daily Tech News Show for Wednesday, January 25th, 2017. I'm Scott Johnson, filling in for Tom Merritt. I'm actually here every Wednesday, but I'm filling in today. Tom had some stuff come up that he needed to be attending, and we are happy to sit in for him. Joining me, producer of the show extraordinaire, Mr. Roger Chang. Hello, Roger.
Hello, Scott. Thank you very much. My face will show up shortly.
I believe in your ability to have your face show up. We're excited to be here, although we will miss Tom. There's a lot of stuff going on today, and we'll get right into it. But let's start by telling people a few little things. I know there's been a lot of talk right now about Raspberry Pis and what's happening with those things. I'm actually building a video game cabinet based on one. Well, ZDNet reports that Google AI is coming to the Raspberry Pi this year. According to the Raspberry Pi Foundation, Google plans on releasing a range of small tools, or smart tools rather, for the platform, and has set up an online survey for Raspberry Pi users to fill out. Also, Google reports it took down 1.7 billion bad ads, they're calling them, in 2016 versus 780 million it removed in 2015. That is quite a jump year over year. In its annual bad ads report, a new policy regarding payday loan ads, system updates that spot bad ads like payday loans, ads designed to look like system errors, and fake news, plus better detection of self-clicking ads on mobile contributed to the increase. I wondered about that mobile thing. And finally, Google has announced via a tweeted link to a series of puzzles that Google I/O 2017 will be held at the Shoreline Amphitheater May 17th through the 19th. This is the third time the event will be held at the Shoreline, so bring your shades and your SPF 100, because last time those guys looked really hot. Get to the rest of the stories. All right, let's start here. And we're going to talk about this at length in our topic today, but in a blog post that said it will discontinue the personalized trending topics box, Facebook has replaced it with a list of regional subjects. People within the same geographic region will have the ability to see the same subject list as everyone in their region, of course. Facebook will also display the headline and publisher below the topic. More importantly, the way the story is considered trending is being changed to take into account how many publishers are writing about the same topic. So the little experiment didn't really work out. We're going to talk more about what we think that means in the world of curated content a little bit later on the show, and not just with news and not just with web content, but what does it mean for movies and television and streaming content in general, and all the other kinds of things that we consume via an internet connection. So I'm looking forward to that. Roger, just your over under, your big take on the
my big take is what a strange, was it 6-8 months it's been for this like roller coaster ride, and it really, I think really the bigger underlying picture is how difficult this really is to get right. This isn't something, it befuddles humans, right? And to get a machine learning on it needs to take in all these variables that they're so second nature to people that they don't think about it. And I think therein lies the crux of the issue, is that trying to teach things to people, not to people, is difficult enough. Trying to teach things to a machine so it's better than people is going to be a lot harder.
Yeah, not only that, it's like a kid. I know that my kids, when they were 2 or 3, liked corn dogs. But if I'm to curate their meals, I probably shouldn't say, well, since you liked corn dogs last time, maybe you would like corn dogs again, and do nothing but corn dogs the rest of their lives. I think it's a lot more complicated, and we'll get into it. There's stuff to discuss.
Definitely.
You reading this next one?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. And now Amazon has started shipping items from its Chinese partners to American warehouses via ocean freighters, according to the Wall Street Journal. Now, Amazon will not own the ships, but instead be the logistics provider and organizer for the vessels, in a similar manner to the way like FedEx and UPS operate. Now, since October, Amazon has freight forwarded over 115 containers of goods from their partners in China. So this is very interesting, because in many respects, they're trying to muscle in on the entire chain of their operation. So instead of just being, we're going to sell it to you, we're going to middleman are shipping to you, be it the United States Postal Service or whatever post service that you have, or we're going to go with DHL, or we're going to go with UPS, we're going to go with FedEx. And it's just like, no, this might be a little more efficient. It's both simultaneously incredible, but also very scary, because what they're trying to do is consolidate in a supply line chain from their warehouses to their providers. That's all Amazon controlled.
Yeah, and moreover, it's a half step toward what I think they ultimately may end up being, which is a complete logistics chain. Right now, this is them saying we're gonna basically we're gonna co-op some services, and we're gonna have money involved in the ships, and we're gonna be a part of it, but we're not entirely it. But if you're asking me, and I don't think this is all that conspiratorial, I think that Amazon would one day like to control everything from point A all the way to point Z, and whatever that may be in between, whether it's shipping lanes, whether it's air travel, whether it's drones over your house dropping off a package. I think they want to own every inch of that. So we'll see how that all plans out, or plays out rather. T-Mobile will now be offering a free year of Hulu's $7.99 plan, the one with the ads, mind you. This is the one that I don't want. But anyway, they're going to do it to AT&T customers who jump ship to the company's one plan, in addition to the original offer of 1 year free DirecTV Now. DirecTV Now is the live streaming service owned by AT&T that was launched not too long ago. That's interesting. I guess that's just a now a sort of cross services way for them to say, hey, why don't you leave this other provider and come over here and hang out with us? This is just an interesting new wrinkle in the same way that carriers have been trying to get for people for a long time, I guess.
It's almost a very backhanded way of poking fun at AT&T because DirecTV Now, as awesome as it sounds, has some issue with their streaming delivery. And if Lagarde did kind of bring that up, he said, "quote, it turns out DirecTV Now is barely watchable, but we've got our customers back." And this is kind of ostensibly why they're rolling out Hulu. But really, it's just like, we're a company, and we're eating your lunch, and then we're just going to backhand your inability to even fight back with any kind of modicum of competency, and so we're going to throw something else in just to kind of rub it in.
Yeah. A little bit. I don't know. The whole thing is so crazy to me. I still think we're about 10 years away from seeing a complete shift on how wireless internet works, and I think it's going to follow the pattern that landline-based dial-up to then broadband services changed. I mean, we could do a whole topic on this one day, but I just don't think that the way the wireless world works today is the way it will work in even 2020.
Yeah, there will be significant changes, I think, within the next 5-6 years. Speaking of changes, in the latest version of Netflix Android app, users can now download movies onto micro SD cards. Fancy that. Previously, the download feature was limited to internal storage. Content stored on the medium would still expire over time, and Netflix notes that the support for micro SD downloads varies by device.
Interesting. So they didn't get real specific about what devices as I was trying to look at this, but it's a pretty bold move saying this is now a something that can be removed via external, or rather, storage that isn't internal to the device, and then done with what anyone wants to. So clearly they've got good DRM in place here. They must, or they wouldn't be willing to do this. But I still think that's super risky for them, if that's a concern. Maybe it isn't anymore. Maybe in their minds, if this is where they came to get the content, this is where they'll always come to get the content, and they're not that worried about somebody hacking / reverse engineering these files and figuring out a way to share them online.
I mean, it's definitely a risk, but I think it's balanced against that. Well, now we have competitors that are also kind of sharpening their knives to compete with us. Amazon being the prime one of funding their own TV shows, movies, whatever original content. We need to start differentiating ourselves so that when our customers use our product, we're going to offer that one little feature creep that makes us a little more attractive to the competitor. And not to say that people would dump something else, but not dump Netflix, right? Because not all of Netflix library catalog overlaps Amazon or vice versa, but it's definitely one of those things where people say like, well, do I really need 2 or 3? Like right now, I have Hulu, Amazon Prime, and Netflix. I've toyed with the ideas like, should I kick one out? Which one do I watch the least? Which one's the least convenient? And Netflix, being able to watch it, perhaps offline on an SD storage would be great, especially on long car rides where you don't have a cell connection in between, like Vegas and LA, or you just need to quiet the kids down in the back with like some soothing. I don't know what's a kid's video, Phineas and Ferb, or what does my kid watch? She watches a lot of Super Wings on
Uh,
Amazon Prime with the talking airplanes.
yeah,
Which of course I don't know.
kind of a Peppa Pig fan myself, if I'm going to admit to liking a kid's cartoon. But yeah, moreover, it's an interesting method to say, well, all right, what if the adult or whoever involved or whoever owns the content or subscribes to the content, they want to bring it to their phone first, which saves it to an micro SD. And depending on that device, it will work and be there. Then you could take that micro SD out of there, stick it in your notebook, stick it in your PC, stick it in some other device that takes micro SD, and now you can watch it on that device. It's just interesting. Why wouldn't you get it on the device you're going to watch it on in the first place? Maybe I assume that you can't watch this even on the removable storage on a device that doesn't have the Amazon app on it, or excuse me, the Netflix app on it, because it's not going to know how to recognize it. It's not like just some MP4 in there. So it seems a little weird to me that you'd initiate something on a phone and go there. And maybe they don't plan to do that. Maybe their whole point is whatever additional micro SD storage you have will support it. And that just means you're not using internal storage. Your 8 gig or whatever low amount is fine. And now you've got this extra 200 gig to put movies on. Either way, I like the idea of them opening up a little bit, and we'll see how it goes.
And to add to one final point, airplanes, right? You're on a 5-hour flight between coasts. You don't want to pay for their, in-flight internet, which isn't that great to begin with, and you don't like what they offer for movie content on the little screen on the back of the headrest. You pull out your tablet or whatever that you have like 6 or 8 movies loaded that you want to watch. Like you want to binge watch on a bunch of stuff that you haven't been able to get to.
Yeah.
And since Netflix, last time I checked, Netflix isn't available in flight, is it?
Not that I know of, unless they have some kind of deal. So this is a great way. I mean, with Amazon's app, I do this now. I watched the entire second season of Man in the High Castle by downloading it first. It's on an iPad in this case, and no micro SD, but just internal storage. But I got all 10 of those episodes downloaded from Amazon so I could watch them wherever I was, with or without a connection. And that was great. I really, really liked that. And Netflix does that as well, not with all their programming, but with chunks of it. Certainly their own original programming. So this is just another way for them to get that out there. I'm happy that Prime is in this mix, that there is real competition. Throwing people like Hulu, PlayStation View, and everybody else, they start to make these companies be a little bit more quick on their feet, come up with features we want, compete on real features and issues and payment and all that other stuff. It's good for us as consumers.
Definitely.
Yeah, start downloading your Netflix movies now, everybody, and get that SD card ready. In a blog post, Instagram announced that live video on Instagram stories would begin rolling out globally over the next week, starting January 24th. The feature will be available to all users as part of their 10.0 update version of the app. Live videos can be started directly from the camera in the Instagram stories part of the app and disappear once recording is complete. Now, this has already been available to a lot of people. This is a worldwide global rollout. So get ready for weird ephemeral videos, or more importantly, live ones where, I don't know, Roger can change a diaper. You can witness the whole thing.
A lot of people are using it as a way to kind of narrowcast their particular stories to an audience already well conditioned to enjoy it. Like, say you're into a particular type of baking, like you like baking in like a Dutch oven. That's all you do. So you just have a Dutch oven stream, or all you like playing like video games is you like playing dance rhythm games. So that's your entire channel. It's very interesting because we went from broadcasting, which was from one source to many people, to kind of people being able to select and then do point-to-point conversations with a group select of people, and YouTube has kind of broadened that out to let back to one person to not as many, but still a good chunk of people. And now it's I think that there's a competition to get all these for one of these platforms to come out the winner, because everyone thinks like, I want to be the next YouTube, right? Because that's where the monies eventually somehow will be made, and everyone will be super rich. I think it's cool. I'm not. It's. I'm still.
It's not for you, is maybe what you're saying,
Yeah,
I'm
not for me.
I'm kind of with you. Like, as excited as I am about all of these things happening, and as much as I stream on Twitch and enjoy that from a video games and creative standpoint, everybody and their dog having apps that want me to stop what I'm doing, and Periscope or Facebook Live or Instagram or whatever, Snapchat, they want me to make this stuff for the niche audiences that want to see it. I think it's great. I just starting to wonder if we're all going to run out of stuff to say that's interesting. And if that's the case, also, which platform wins? I don't know. Like, I feel like Facebook gets a lot more traction on their live videos than other platforms, simply because they're Facebook. And so maybe by sheer numbers, they'll end up winning. Maybe there is no winning, and it'll just be a default requirement if you're ever going to make a service that has anything to do with video, that you're going to have strong streaming tools. And all of that being said, the least strength, or the place with the least amount of strength in this area, I think, is YouTube, funny enough. So they're all making this unique sort of idea of, hey, one-to-many streaming, let's do it, and it's all live, and they're doing it from their phones or whatever. But YouTube doesn't really have a great way to do that yet. Not in the same way that it is easy to do a Facebook Live video or easy to do an Instagram Live video or whatever. Periscope, even easier on Twitter or wherever you're using Periscope. So to me, that's the more interesting story here, is where does that all end up? Does it end up with a glut of apps and they're all kind of the same and nobody knows which one to use, and it's all about which one has the biggest audience in the end? Or does YouTube suddenly swing around and say, guess what? Our mobile app now has on-demand, quick cast type personal streaming, and we figured out a way to make it work, and it's not kludgy and hard to use. I don't know.
Or someone could clue in on, let me make one particular platform that happens to stream across all of them at the same time.
Yeah.
And thereby riding piggyback on top of Instagram, Periscope, whatever, Facebook Live.
I would be down with that. I think the platform holders, I could be wrong about this. I mean, you've noticed in the last few years, Twitter has really tightened down who and what they'll allow on their API. It used to be a much more open thing, and everybody and their dog was going to make a Twitter client, and Twitter would just be the service, and these clients would be the clients. And now there really just are a handful that are still, in that space. They've decided instead to cut back on what the API allows these people to do, which has been very frustrating to them. And then on the other hand, beefing up their own app, putting in their own services, putting in polls and gift search and all this other stuff directly into that app only. That seems like they're trying to wall garden that thing again. And I don't necessarily blame them, but my point is, I think that's true across the board. There's a reason when you paste a YouTube link on Facebook that it doesn't have a very good embed feature. It's sort of small and like postage stampy, and it takes you out of the site to look at it. But if you post a Instagram video in there, it is fully integrated into Facebook. You don't have to leave to watch the entire thing. It's as if you've posted a Facebook app or a video. Well, why? Well, because they own Facebook, and they've decided they want that to be part of the ecosystem. They don't own YouTube, and if anything, have an adversarial position in the market with them. So they're not motivated to make that an easy thing to have happen. So I'm with you 100%. I want a service that goes one to all of them. Let's just do it to every one of them. It makes perfect sense to me. A tweet deck, for example, but for video.
Yes.
And I'm not sure any of them are going to allow that kind of integration with their APIs. I hope that's true, because it would make things a lot less crazy, and you could just kind of pick and choose what you want to use. But I think they all want to have flagship sort of prominence in the minds of users.
Definitely. Speaking of prominence in the minds of users, Zuckerberg has shot down rumors of a presidential bid. Surprise, surprise. He told BuzzFeed News, quote, "No, I'm focused on building our community at Facebook and working on the Chan Zuckerberg initiative. Rumors of a possible Zuckerberg presidential run has surrounded him since late last year, when he announced that he plans to visit around 30 U.S. states asking folks about their lives, as well as making public his belief in spirit, in a spiritual belief before he announced himself as an atheist, and he kind of switched that. Was it last month that he did that? It basically it. So the thing is, people don't say they're not doing something if they're not going to do it, right? So by discounting a presidential bid, he's kind of tacitly implying that he actually will be running, right? No one said, like, for example, I'm not going to go to you, Scott, and say I'm not going to be a garbage man. And like,
Yeah.
maybe I have weird dreams about being a garbage man, and it's just my, my subversive way of telling you that I am going to be a garbage man. I don't know, but especially for something that high profile, something's up.
Yeah.
Something's up.
I mean, okay, here's my take real quick. We live in a time where we now know it's possible to be a businessman with a lot of money and a lot of high profile prominence to run for president and get there. So we know that part of it's possible. Then he announces, I'm going to go to 30 US states and ask folks about their lives. That is the most campaigny sounding thing I've ever heard in my life.
Right?
I'm not saying it's a guarantee or that it makes any of this for sure, but it's definitely, you can't read that and not jump to some of those conclusions. So I understand people's desire to hear that and go, oh yeah, well, of course he is one day. I don't know. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. He's certainly got a long time to think about it. He could have multiple campaigns and lose them and still become president one day, given how young he is. So who knows? My thinking is nobody ever says never to anything. And if they do, that usually doesn't mean anything. I remember when Steve Jobs said, somebody asked him, is Apple ever going to make a phone? And he held up his Trio and said, I wouldn't throw away your Trios just yet, which everyone was supposed to, on the face of it, take as, oh, well, he's saying Apple's not interested. There's already good players in the market. And a year and a half later, there was the iPhone. So, yeah. So that's what this feels like to me. And who knows? President Zuckerberg could be in our future.
I mean, it's essentially a stalking horse, right? You just put it out there to see how it floats with the wider audience that you potentially need to gain support from for any kind of political bid, right? Whether it's presidential, congressional, senatorial, or gubernatorial, right? I mean, there's so many offices you can aim for, but it's I'm putting feelers out, but I'm not going to commit to it, right? So if people are like totally panicked, it's not like, well, I didn't really mean it, and it's a very interesting ploy, not as uncommon as you would think.
Yeah. And also, I think it would be a really interesting run. So we'll see what the future holds. Finally, VentureBeat reports on sources saying Huawei is preparing to launch the Huawei Watch 2 in February. The Android Wear device will feature a sportier design than the original and have optional support for cellular data. I think that's a big thing. With the ability to make and receive phone calls directly on the watch, the source reported that Huawei Watch 2 may debut at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, but cautioned this was not finalized. This all in the wake of some new Android Wear updates and releases, and a very interesting focus on, some of the latest stuff I've read about Android Wear is starting to see what Google always does, making really good iOS compatibility. They're beefing that up. I'm not sure that has anything to do with Huawei's plans for this watch, but I'm telling you, when watch wars really take off, right now we are in the infantile stage, is when you can start making calls on that thing like Dick Tracy, and this seems like a step in that direction.
Dick Tracy. How many people understand that reference
Very
in this day and age? It's a watch. It's Android-y. It's cool. I'm still a little lukewarm on the whole wearables outside of fitness trackers, like Fitbit and stuff like that. I personally still believe that a lot of these products are still solutions looking for a problem, and so
and it may find one.
It might find one. Might eventually find one in 2017 when something triggers it. Like, oh, I was stuck on a top of the Himalaya and I wouldn't have been able to get out of it if not for my Huawei Watch 2 and its connectivity. Something like that. Yeah,
look forward to this year being it. And that is a look at your headlines. All right. I want to discuss this a little bit. And by the way, thanks everybody who submits and helps vote for stories. We really appreciate it. We'll talk more about you at the end of the show. Our discussion story today, Facebook ending its effort to personalize trending topics. And that box was never very good at nailing what you wanted to see personally. That was the big complaint about it. A lot of people are like, I doesn't really feel like this was for me, or it's sometimes very wrong for me. I have opinions as to why this was a harder mountain for them to climb than it is for Amazon to recommend products based on other things you've already purchased. Mainly, we're talking about a lot of thought content on Facebook and a lot of links and a lot of data and news and stuff that gets so granular that it's impossible for any algorithm, any computer, or even another person to perfectly apply those to another person and say, these are the things you are for sure going to be the most interested in. And so the way it's going to work now is everybody will see the same list in the same regions. And they said this in a statement. This is designed to help make sure people don't miss important topics being focused on by Facebook that might not show up in their news feeds. And the thinking is that this will be a more manageable solution. They're also changing the way they calculate whether a story is trending. So before now, a story could appear in the trending box if a single story were about to go viral. Now Facebook will take into account how many publishers appear to be writing about that exact same thing, in part as an effort to combat the viral spread of hoaxes. So again, an effort to maybe curb some of the quote unquote fake news we've been hearing about lately. This should surface trending topics quicker, they said, be more effective at capturing a broader range of news and events from around the world, and also help ensure the trending topics reflect real world events. Again, that's all from their statement. So got us to thinking about the bigger issue, which is curation. And how much of it do we have? How much of it do we need? How good is what we've got? And where could it maybe be improved? And I've always been of the mind when it comes to the kinds of content available on Facebook, whether it's opinions or news or reshares of 1,000 different memes or whatever it is, it's better to let the user discover this stuff without trying to be led around somewhere. And I think by doing it by region or doing it in a way that is more quote unquote local to you, it's not quite local, obviously. A region is a much bigger place, but you know, things that may apply to what's going on in the United States or what might be happening in Canada, or if you live in the Netherlands, what's going on there. They're going to have a better shot at that target. It's a little bit wider of a shot. It's a little bit more, I don't know, it's like a shotgun instead of a sniper rifle, but I think you're going to hit the right targets more often with this. And got me to thinking about, like, how would this apply to, say, the way we get our music or the way that other kinds of content are curated for us. So right now, as it works, Roger, if you turn on Netflix, I don't know how many accounts you have set up. Do you have one for your kid and then one for you, or how do you do it?
I have one for me, and then because she's at the age where she can't really operate anything, I will put it in children's mode and we'll go through and pick stuff.
Now, what that will mean, because it's on your account, your curated, recommended for you type lists are going to be based upon your watching habits. And your watching habits could be anything from you catching up on the last season of Breaking Bad to the latest delightful episode of the Teletubbies or whatever. Okay. We've got this big weird range of things, and it's going to try to algorithmically decide based on those habits what it's going to recommend you watch, or tell you that if you liked this, you might also like that. And even one step further, Netflix does a thing that annoys the crap out of me, which is they will give star reviews, 5, for things that you haven't seen yet that aren't based on everyone else's reviews or what everyone else thought in traditional ways of thinking about reviews. It's based on what you've seen, what you've liked before, so therefore you must like this. And that's frustrating because I do a show about crappy movies called Film Sack, and I use the same account for it. Probably shouldn't. But because I watch, you know, Clowns from Outer Space or some other, you know, Krull or some dumb movie like that, it thinks I want to see something dumb like that again, and we'll give it this 5-star rating, and I'll look at it and go, I don't know. But then things I do actually like, I give it 2.5 stars, and I think, why is that so low? And I forget, oh, that's what it thinks I'm going to think about it. That's when I start to feel like it goes a little too far. I'd love to know your take.
So, like, really, you know, the more I think about it, and I step back from the question at hand, like, is, you know, what's the state? What is the future of curation? It seems like there needs to be a curated form of curation, right? You need to curate the way you curate, because it really depends on the context in which someone searches. For example, what you say about Netflix movies, the way they rate them is so annoying, because there's movies I really enjoy, even though they had 1 or 2 stars, because I don't watch enough Spanish language movies. So it might pop one up because I watch one every few months. And I'll give it a 1 star because I don't watch too many of them. But it's a really funny, good movie. And my wife and I are sitting there laughing our asses off. And it's like, why did it get 1 star? It's like, oh, it's because this isn't a movie that its algorithm would have considered I would enjoy, while it gives me endless sports documentaries, because I liked one where that followed the travels of an American college basketball player who played basketball in Iran. And it was a documentary. And suddenly started sending me all these documentaries about sports, which I'm not super into. I just liked that particular one. All of them have 4 or 5 stars. It's really irritating.
It happens across the board. The same thing goes for music and stuff. I mean, I feel like, I mean, the reason curation exists, though, Roger, is because we have said in our computing age, we don't want just lists anymore, because we could just say, show me everything alphabetical, or, you know, in the past, that's what you did, or resort it to be most recent, or resort it to be the most downloaded. And so we'd make decisions based on that. What I like about curation, and I wish this was just more true across the board, is I don't mind it when you say, when I go to my streaming music service, hey, here are 4 new albums you might like based on what you listen to. But I can very quickly ignore that list and go straight to the sort it by what I want. I want 70s rock today. I want 1940s big band. I want, you know, current day EDM. I want deadmau5, whatever it is. I can just go to it and not be forced down weird paths to get to where I need to go, because it thinks it knows what path I want to take. Give me some upfronts. Totally cool with that. Kind of like, you know, you bought toilet paper here at Amazon. Might we also recommend this? Sure. But I may also just go searching around your site for stuff I really want to get. I don't mind that. That isn't a problem. Bad examples of where this happens. And I can't speak to the details, but now YouTube's changing their algorithms quite a bit. So the creators are being found in ways that they're not used to. And there's a big uproar about that. Some people claiming they're going to leave, start their own networks, blah, blah, blah. So I'm not so sure curation is working well for their creators. Streaming services telling you, you know, the 5-star thing, I mentioned that. Yelp is a good example. Telling me that a restaurant is 2 stars because somebody did a flash mob of 50 people who left reviews and did it on purpose just to make them look bad. And the food's probably fine and the service is probably fine. But all I know is this Yelp review is bad. So there's another sort of curation thing gone foul. And, you know, apps get it right in some cases. Apple has a very curated app store, not necessarily with you might like or you might also like, although they have some of that. But they, you know, they're like, we're not letting certain apps in. We're not letting them in with certain security problems. And you're not going to have a bunch of viruses or, you know, crap running on your phone. In the one way, that's kind of nice. And the other hand, that curation means that you're blocking some potential creative ideas. Some apps may never make it onto the platform. But then again, on the Android platform, you can have a lot of weird, you know, security holes and issues and problems.
It's weird because curation, I think, is based on a couple of notions that may not always be true. One, that people know what they like, right? I mean, people make fun of kids all the time, but kids don't know what they like. They go from here, they want to do 5 different jobs. They want to be a doctor one day, a fireman the next day, and it's like, I don't think people really understand what they want. They know what they like, but knowing what you like and what you want aren't necessarily synonymous. And I think the other thing is that a lot of curation is based on, how can I get you to make me more money?
Yeah.
And so it might be a little self-defeating, because, you know, Amazon, they'll sell it as long as you're buying something, they're happy, right? As long as, whether it's toilet paper or the dispenser that the toilet paper sits on, you know, they're making money. For videos, it's harder to say. I think Netflix is trying to make you happy at the same time, without making you uncomfortable. And I don't think that's necessarily what you want to do. How many movies, how many songs, how many books have you discovered that you would have never discovered if you just hadn't accidentally picked it up, listened to it, watched it, read it? And like, well, I would have never read this book because it's not something I would like. I would have never watched this movie because it's, you know, it's a slow rom-com and I'm not into rom-coms. Or this is, you know, this is all like, you know, third wave ska. I'm not into third wave ska. I like the original ska, I like punk, and that's it. I think part of it is that human nature is so mercurial, and so it's really hard to put a thumb on it. And that's the whole thing with viral videos and viral ads. When people say we're going to create the next viral ad, it's like that's kind of
They usually
cross
don't.
purposes.
Yeah,
How do
they
you
usually
create
don't.
anything viral,
Usually,
right?
'cause, yeah, you can't just make that stuff up. I totally agree. So I think what we're coming down to here, and I think this is where my head's at. There's some curation that is absolutely working, and it gets complicated with the more diverse the information you're trying to parse. So if it's movies and ones you might like because you liked this, we're probably doing okay. I mean, there's no doubt that there have been times where I have finished a documentary on Netflix and it says, here are 3 more that you might like during the credits. And I've discovered something awesome that I didn't even know was in there because of it. It was buried otherwise, and I would have found it any other way, except they recommended it based on what I had just seen or what I've liked in the past. So mission accomplished, not perfect, but pretty close. And again, it's a narrow data set. It's things you might want to watch. In Facebook's case, they're talking about an enormous amount of information across a global audience of people, resources, and publishers and everybody else. And for them to be able to parse that down into something that seems like it's individually fitting all billion people that use Facebook is astronomically hard.
Yes.
So I think that it's the right thing for now until we get super machine learning beyond our wildest dreams to sort of pare that back and go with something a little simpler than it is to try to force that to be a thing, because it just wasn't working. And again, it's just too nuanced. There's too much complication. There's too many
It's too much. It's too nuanced, and I think sometimes, especially with news topics, I don't necessarily believe it's something you want personalized in such a way where you only get the news you want to see, right? I mean, it's kind of like going to school and taking subjects you had to take, right? Oh, I have to take physics, I have to take chemistry, I have to take calculus. Those aren't things like a lot of students would want to take, other than the fact that it helps you with university admission. But sometimes you need to look at things that are outside your comfort zone, outside of your wheelhouse, because that's, I think, the only way you can really break out of a self-contained bubble where we find ourselves, where people accuse the internet of being the ultimate echo chamber. We actively seek out things that align with our views or make us feel relaxed and comfortable with the way things are, the way we think things are.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're buying slippers, that's one thing. If you're buying food or watching movies, that's one thing. But when you're dealing with something as incredibly diverse, incredibly, as you were saying, as nuanced as news, as topics, things like that, I think it's very important that it isn't necessarily pablum. It isn't just force fed to you because that's what you'll enjoy, and you'll sit around on Facebook a few minutes longer, raking in all those ad dollars for the company.
Yeah, it's a good experiment, but I just don't think they're there yet. So time will tell. I think for the most part, the curation that I work with the most, when it works, I don't say anything about it. And when it doesn't, I make noise. That's the other factor here. If something's working, we tend to, as a race, not say much about it because it's just working, and we might be happy. Yep. We may say we're happy with it, but we're not in every case complaining. But when something's doing it wrong, if Amazon kept saying, hey, because you bought this laptop here, you might also like this light bulb, which makes no connective sense to me, I would probably make a stink about it. Well, why? Well, because when things don't work, that's when we say things. And when they do, we just sort of go on about our day. So that's part of this as well. Yeah. We'll see how it goes. I think Facebook has an opportunity down the road to maybe even lead in this space. And one would hope that they'll figure their crap out, as others will have to as well.
Just in time for Zuckerberg's nomination.
Yeah, right before he's president. We got a quick message of the day. These come to us at feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Please send them in. Love reading them here, especially when I'm on Wednesdays. I love interacting with the listeners. Alexander Yoon wrote in and added to yesterday's Hyperloop topic. Hey, just a quick comment on Hyperloop. I work for an overnight logistics company, and it's one of the largest airlines in the world. It is extraordinarily expensive to run all those planes, and you're mostly restricted to nighttime when there's significantly less air passenger traffic. If they can get the cost competitive on a per pound basis with overnight air freight, they might have a real chance of offering freight services either overnight or even same day, because they could run at all hours. It might even give them a competitive advantage. Just a thought. Cheer up and keep up the great work, or cheers and keep up the great work. There's no cheering up. Yeah, Alexander has a good point. That's the thing I love about these emails. You guys are out there working in the places that are directly affected by the topics we talk about and the things Tom brings up on his show. So it's always good to get those perspectives. I would have never, if you'd asked me why do these things run at night, I wouldn't know the answer to that. Like, I don't know. It's cheaper than, it's got to be cheaper than human air travel. And so you do it at those times. It makes perfect sense now that I've heard about it. I would have had no idea.
It's interesting. It's like the way you used to make long distance calls at night because the rates were cheaper.
Right. So, so here's the question. If a Hyperloop system is to succeed as a freight system, then it will have the same rule. Like when you're not moving people, it will be cheaper to move your product. And when you're not moving product, you're moving people. Like it's the same thing kind of.
And, it'll be interesting because at least rail in the United States, the only profitable sector is freight, right? Amtrak doesn't really pay for itself except for selected areas like the Northeast because of the density of riders. But if Hyperloop, I think, is to get a good grounding and a good financial kind of even keel to start off from, it's going to be in freight. It's going to be basically being the national version of the pneumatic tubes you used to have in supermarkets and stores like Kmart, where they would have the little tube next to the register and they would put the tube in there and pop up. Because it would be really awesome to get something shipped from one end of the country to another in about a day and a half that way.
Oh,
just like,
I'm all for, by the way, pneumatic tubes everywhere, all over. I love that. I don't know what
those things are so cool.
They're so cool. There's something kind of steampunky about it. And I don't know, just it fits my idea of what the future should be. So pneumatic tubes and Hyperloop is really just one big fat pneumatic tube. So let's do it. Thanks for the email. Thank you everybody for emails. And Roger, thank you for hanging out with me today. It was
thank you for hosting the show. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was good. Tom will be back tomorrow, of course. And that'll be good because, hey, Tom is Lord of all he surveys. But we were happy to warm his seat while he was away. And big thanks to the patrons out there. You guys are awesome. Without you, there would be no show. Patreon.com/DTNS. And don't forget, if you buy a mug or tell a friend, that's cool too. Heck, you could do all three. That's what I did. Maybe you should too. Anyway, big thanks to everybody. And thanks to Tom for letting us sit in for him. A reminder that our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And the website is dailytechnewsshow.com. Tomorrow, Justin Robert Young here. We'll see you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Yeah.
Awesome show. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it worked out good. I'm going to put this, where do you want me to put this file?
Do you normally just give it to me through Dropbox?
Dropbox, I can totally do that.
I can just, send me the link and I can download it.
It's
awesome.
A wave, so it'll be pretty big. Or do you want just an MP3?
You can give me, how big is the wave?
I'm saving it now. Let me find out. It is going to be a gigabyte.
Oh, wow. Yeah, just give me the MP3.
All right. Let's see. Let me do a quick level later and all that stuff to it.
Yeah, I can add all the tags to it and stuff.
Yeah.
Titles, Raspberry AI Pi.
Oh, yeah, Showbot. Let me get in there.
Oh, yeah. Everyone go to showbot.tv, vote for your title that you enjoy.
Raspberry AI. I don't like that.
There's Facebook's Corn Dogs.
Facebook Corn Dogs. I got to remember the dumb analogies I use often get repeated as titles. That always happens to me.
I do like another Jay Martin's Curation.
Curation is very fitting, isn't it? It's currently tied for second. Or tied for first, rather.
First. Raspberry Pi. P-A-I. Pi. the way the wireless world works. Facebook terms of service, now terms of state.
I think curation, given that was the main gist of the show, and it's got 2 votes ahead at the moment. It's 3. Yeah,
it's going. Yeah, it's a really interesting thing because it's. I mean, it's not to get all philosophical. It's a lot more about the human condition than I think is apparent at first look.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree with that. I'm going to save this out.
I don't know. President Zuckerberg. I don't know. Do I have to like him on Facebook?
Maybe. All right, let's export that.
I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, this last election really told you all those years of service and experience don't amount for much, apparently.
Every day we learn more and more how they matter for nothing. Or, it's not they don't matter, but there's an alternative happening, and we'll see, I guess. Yeah, this is a much smaller file.
Oh, cool.
But it'll still sound good. Let's see. Share. Okay, in Slack, there is now a link going to you.
Aha, there it is. Gonna download this file. Gonna file download.
Well, curation, 14 votes. That seems like the winner.
Where's the download link?
So if you're here post-show, and Tom posted it on Twitter, but his dog Django passed away today. And they've had that dog for a long time.
Yes, they've had that dog. They've had Django for.
It's almost as long as they've been married, right?
Yes, because they. I want to say they got Django right after they got married.
Yeah,
so
that may be right. So he's been there a long time. Plus, he's outlived his breed's normal age range by a number of years. And yeah, today they had to make that hard decision. And so that's why we didn't have Tom today. I didn't want to get detailed on the show. Just Tom can do that.
But she did have a very good full life, and
she was a rescue, right? I think so.
Yeah, she was a shelter dog.
Yeah.
But it's tough. It's
totally
super tough.
I'd lose it if my current dog died. Oh my gosh, I'm not ready for that. She's got a lot of years left, but
yeah, to be honest, I mean, it's standard human nature not to dwell on stuff like that because it is a difficult bit. But I really appreciate you stepping in the way you did last minute.
Yeah, no worries.
I appreciate the audience. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, I was always happy to help. If whenever that stuff comes in the future, I'm always around for it.
All right, so curation. Thank you, everyone. All right, I'm gonna stop the broadcast because I gotta jam in a few.